आप्यायन्तु ममाङ्गानि वाक्प्राणश्चक्षुश्रोत्रमथो बलमिन्द्रियाणि च सर्वाणि सर्वं ब्रह्म उपनिषदं माहं ब्रह्म निराकुर्याम् मा ब्रह्म निराकरोत् अनिराकरणमस्त्वनिराकरणं मे अस्तु तदात्मनि नियतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्माः ते मयि सन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Sri Shankaracharya's commentary on the third khanda or section of this Kena-Upanishad runs into, as per one of the very reliable and well-made publications, 20 sections, 20 paragraphs, you may say. Swami Sachidanandendra Saraswati ji actually numbers them. 132 through 151, that is a whole 20 paragraphs, each paragraph bringing forth some more arguments, some more answers, doubts and replies to those doubts, and so on. We have been going over these lines from the Shānkarabhāshya, for we find them actually very helpful. Many students may think these are all not necessary. I would differ from them. If you have great difficulty in understanding these paragraphs and because of your difficulty you leave them, that is understandable. But to say that they will not be of help to us in our sadhana will be a big error. And I have said this before, let me once more briefly say, in actual Jnana Marga, on the path of knowledge, what is very important is clarity about the subject. And these paragraphs about which we are talking, upon being deliberated on, can give us tremendous clarity. Lesser the clarity, greater is the need for various practices which anyhow cannot take you far. Greater the clarity, lesser is the need for practices. This is a very subtle topic, though not really very complicated. The question of practicing doesn't arise if you have total clarity. In Ramana Maharshi's Saddarshanam, with a touch of humor, Maharshi says, does a man have to sit down a few times every day, reminding himself that he is a man? Yatha naratva pramitir narasya. There is a punchline in one of the verses of Saddarshanam. A man, Nara, has knowledge that he is a man. Naratva pramiti. Pramiti means knowledge. When he knows clearly, the word to be underlined is clearly, without any doubt. I am a man. He doesn't have to meditate on the statement, I am a man. Likewise, with proper study, you get such clarity that you cannot see but the truth. And please do not therefore imagine that these paragraphs or a mere academic discussion may be helpful for somebody who wants to write a PhD, get a PhD on Shānkarabhāshya and so on. Those who want to go for a PhD will, of course, find these discussions very good material. They will find it to be very good material. They can write pages and pages on these discussions. But let me tell you, that is secondary for our own clarity. A lot of us, let me say this and then get down to the topic proper. A lot of us don't take God also seriously because we don't have clarity on what God is. If we know, if we have an inkling, if we have a certain picture of what God is, where God is, how He operates in our life, we would be alarmed. Our way of living will change. With that backdrop, let me tell you, out of the 20 paragraphs which are on this section 3 only, we have so far done or covered 9 paragraphs. Today we will touch upon 3 more paragraphs, not going into every word and every sentence and every expression. If we do that, it will become more a Sanskrit grammar class. So without going into the syntax and semantics of sentences and words and all those, we will see what these 3 paragraphs actually tell us. One paragraph we have presented in this slide, but before that, let us go to the first title slide. In the title slide, we once more introduce what the topic presently is. As you are aware, Shankaracharya has not even entered the mantras. Brahma Devebhyo Vijigye. The Supreme God once won a war on behalf of the gods, is how this khanda begins, and Shankaracharya is yet to touch it. So, what is he talking about here? The word Brahma does not mean in this context the one non-dual, secondless, all-pervasive truth. Advaita Brahma, Advitiya Brahma, Nirguna Nirakara Brahma, especially Nirguna aspect of it, is not what is meant by Brahma. Here, Brahma means Ishvara. And in the 9 paragraphs that we did see, from 132 to 140, we saw some arguments on the part of the imagined opponent, saying there is no need to bring God into the picture. There may not be God also. VEDAS do not talk about God, etc. The imagined opponent, Purvapakshi says. And Shankaracharya, playing the role of the Siddhanti, the champion of the real, authentic school, refutes those arguments. So this slide says, in this 16th class on Kena-Upanishad with vākya-bhāshya, we will take up a couple of more arguments against the existence of God. And when we pick up the next slide, where actually the paragraph 130, 141 is given, what we have put in the title slide is found in that. Prapti abhava. For a question arises, Have the Vedas said anywhere there is Ishvara, Ishvara asti, in that form, not indirectly, but very explicitly. Jagataha niyamakaha, jagataha srishtikarta, jagataha layakarta, Ishvaraha asti. Purvapakshi asked the question. I suppose there are some sentences at some places to that effect, but Adi Shankaracharya says it's not necessary to say everywhere there is God in a certain specific manner. Prapti abhava. The Purvapakshi says, the imagined opponent says, there is no clear assertion that there is God. And we will see the Siddhanti says, even though there is no assertion, apratishedhat. Show me one sentence where the Vedas have said there is no God. The Vedas have not said there is no God. Because, first of all, there was no assertion that there is God. So, Purvapakshi demands certain sentences, and the Siddhanti says, Vedas don't listen to you how they should speak. They have said in a way that they have opted for. Don't tell God who gave the Vedas to teach in this way or that way. When you have enough intelligence, you will understand. Therefore, tad vijnanartham gurumeva abhigachet, said Mundaka-Upanishad. To understand the right teaching of the Vedas, go to a competent teacher who is completely free from any bias or selfishness, who is erudite, who is learned. So, we will see first a certain paragraph where this argument is expanded or elaborated. We go to the second slide now, and we are going to present only these two slides, but I will touch upon two more paragraphs. Slides are a few slides, but paragraph 141 is covered in the 4 slides. Apratishedācha na ca ishvaro nasti iti nishedaha asti. So the Siddhanti says there is no statement in the Shastra saying there is no God. But Purvapakshi demands a specific statement that there is God. So this is quite tricky how the Purvapakshi and the Siddhanti argue between them. In fact, one of the difficulties that we have at sometimes is where is the opponent speaking and where is the Siddhanti, the champion, speaking. So, Prapti Abhavaditi Chet is the Purvapakshi's words. And how does that come? Purvapakshi argues, why does he say that? If the Vedas had said at places that there is God, then they would also have said, we do not say God is not there, and so on. There's no mention. When there is no mention at all, why would they explicitly say, we don't say there is no God? Siddhanti says, na uktatvat. What you say is not true, for in the earlier paragraphs, we have actually made a very strong case for God. And in this session, in today's class also, we will go into it from another angle of view. So as the translation goes, Ishvara is not negated in Shruti because Ishvara is unproved, that is objection. Such argument is wrong, says the Siddhanti. Ishvara's proof has already been explained with direct Shruti quotations. You may remember how it was said that karma cannot give result by itself, nor can the individual karta, the doer, can ensure that the right results come. Therefore, there has to be some higher intelligence, way higher than the limited finite action, way higher than the limited intelligence of a single performer. So, this was said, therefore, uktatvat. Ukta means it has already been said. Now, the Purapakshi says, na himsyat itivat prapti abhavat pratishedo narabhyate iti chet. Some places, with respect to the value of non-violence, Vedas explicitly say, do not hurt, do not kill, and so on. In that way, are there explicit statements? Now the Siddhanti answers, don't so much demand explicit sentences everywhere. We have already provided adequate knowledge, adequate arguments. As the translation goes, if someone argues there won't be any negation of Ishvara, like there are other negations such as don't commit violence, because of topic of Ishvara never comes up, this is incorrect. Ishvara sadbhave nyayasya uktatvat. Nyaya here means logic. We had also talked about, if you remember, how if there is a house suddenly in a jungle, you find a house, no one is living over there, but it has dining hall, it has kitchen, it has furniture, it has bathroom, and so on. Can it ever happen that that kind of a house comes on its own? That's not possible. There has to be a certain intelligent maker. Like that, Nyaya, logic has been given. And moreover, the Siddhanti goes further and argues that the first word in the Bhashya, apratishedat, can also once more imply that the role played by Ishvara is not raised and negated. So as we present our logic, we come forward with our logic, we find that that kind of logic that we come with is nowhere picked up and dismissed. Pratisheda means picking up something and dismissing. Apratishedat. Therefore, karmanaha phaladani ishvara kaladinam na pratishedaha asti. This is also of great importance for understanding the Vedanta deeper and deeper. Everything doesn't have to be said. You do your logic, and then what you arrive at through logic, suppose, is not dismissed anywhere, then you have made a strong case. Interestingly, in a certain debated issue, whether time is the same in waking, dream, and deep sleep, or time of waking is utterly unconnected with the time of dream, and deep sleep, of course, has no time, a similar situation arises. A large number of Vedanta teachers presume that there is one axis of time, T1 to T2 there is waking, T2, the time point 2, T2 to time point T3, it is dream. Then T3 to T4 may be deep sleep, then one comes back to waking. So waking, dream, and deep sleep. Like three girls come and sing three different songs. Girl 1 began at 10 o'clock, sang up to 10:06. Girl 2 came at 10:07 to the stage. She also sang for 5 minutes. Girl 3 came to the stage and sang for only 3 minutes. So 6 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes were in sequence. So can we visualize waking, dream, and deep sleep in that sequence? Interestingly, one of the interpreters of not just the Vedanta, the Upanishads, but Shankara's commentaries, namely Swami Satchidanandendra Saraswati, through a whole lot of logic, comes out with this interpretation that to put waking and dream on the same axis is not logical. He proposes that the waking time, waking space, and the waking causation are bundled up and let go of. Dream has its own time, its own space, its own causation. They, as a bundle, arise and vanish. Now, I will not go long on this, but the parallel between that situation or issue and this issue is also like this. Swami Satchidanandendra Saraswati's certain logical model is not dismissed anywhere, either in the Upanishads or in the Shānkarabhāshya. Na pratishedaha asti. If you come out with a certain interpretation and nowhere does the Vedanta, meaning Upanishads, or Shankara's commentary runs against it, then what you have proposed has an excellent chance of being the right one. Therefore, many mighty scholars have adopted, accepted, have stood with Swami Satchidanandendra Saraswati. But a whole lot of scholars, larger in number, hold on to the model where time is the same in waking, dream, and deep sleep. They come one after another. So interesting. So here too, na pratishedaha asti. Then, nacha nimittantara nirapeksham. There is a sentence. Let's go to the next slide. That's where it can be found. Shankaracharya says, nacha nimittantara nirapeksham kevalena kartra eva prayuktam phaladam drashtam. This point had come before. We'll again throw some light on it. Karta, the limited karta, the little individual, right? Can he determine the results of action? With his limited intelligence, he cannot do. And as the next sentence goes, nacha vinashtopi yagaha kalantare falado. You do a yaga, you do a yajna, or in modern times, you do some work. The work gets over. Whether it was a 3 days project or 300 days project, the project gets over one fine morning. And suppose the results of that were to come to you after 10 years. What intelligence ensures that this karma gets its karma phala? That is not possible either by the person who did the work. He is also dead and gone sometimes in that long period. Nor is it possible by the karma itself. Shankara slowly makes it clear to us that karma simitam, karma jadam. He also makes it clear to us, karta simitaha, a doer, the individual personality. And the karta also, as if you look at it as body-mind complex, it dies one day, it vanishes. But for the inner jivatma to go and get the results, karma phala, in another life, maybe in a life quite distant, 500 years later, in yet another birth of this Jivatma, he pays for the wrong he had done in this life or enjoys the sweet fruits of the good he has done in this life. For that kind of keeping records, neither the karma itself nor the karta is equipped enough. Therefore, there is a case for the supreme intelligent principle. I believe Einstein made a statement once, in his opinion. He said, I don't believe in God who rewards and punishes, etc. But I believe in God who expresses that as the intelligence pervading the universe. The first part of it is not acceptable to traditional Vedanta, but the second part of his quotation, I believe in a certain intelligence that pervades the whole universe. That goes very well with Shankaracharya's position. And now he uses some words which had been used before also. Sevya buddhivat sevakena. Now two words are here. Sevaka is a servant. Sevya is one who receives the services. Somebody does seva, service to a rich man, let us say, for 10 or 15 years, morning and evening, day after day. Now, this rich man, the Sevya, the servant is Sevaka. So, with his limited intelligence, whatever was done for the 10 to 15 years is noted, and quite possibly the rich man towards the end rewards the servant. You took care of me all these years. There are many masters, many rich people while dying, they even write a part of their property in the name of a very loyal and devoted servant, or a very good friend, very good advisor who helped them a lot. Some 15, 20 years ago, a very senior lady of the Birla family wrote away all her property because she had already taken her property and walked out of the larger Birla group. So this lady wrote all her property in the name of some Lodha who was not at all from the Birla family. She remembered towards the end as she was breathing her last, or a little before that, she said, well, for so many years, nobody was with me. This Mr. Lodha helped me in a lot of issues, legal, financial, buying, selling, managing. He got doctors for me. He practically helped me. So she wrote. It became a big controversy because the other Birlas very much wanted all property to come inside their own Birla community. This was probably first time a chunk of Birla property went to a non-Birla. But the point here is that lady, maybe Yashodhara Birla or some such name she had, she was savior. And this R.S. Lodha, who was a very learned man, very knowledgeable in law and finance, etc., had done great service to her. He is seva. So Shankara says, Sevya buddhivat sevakena sarvajna ishvara buddhavtu samskritayam yagadi karmana vinashtepi karmani sevyadiva ishvarat phalam kartuhu bhavati iti yuktam. In the case of human beings, however smart and good they may be, they cannot keep in their mind all the good and bad works of their servants, other people, and so on. To an extent, they can go. Here we are talking about the whole universe. In the universe, there are countless jivatmas. To ensure that all the jivatmas, years later, sometimes lives later, get proper rewards or punishment for their work, there is a need for an unimaginably larger intelligence. That is the idea here. And then Shankara adds towards the bottom of this slide, Natu punaha padarthaha vākya-bhāshya deshantere kalantere va swam swam swabhavam jahati. So individuals have their nature, their limitations. Karma has its nature, its limitations. Places have their nature, their limitations. And don't say, no, this Jivatma may appear limited to you at a certain time, but when the Jivatma dies, it has supreme intelligence. Shankaracharya says it is against its swabhava. What is limited remains limited. Swam swam swabhavam na jahati. Even if some misleading sentences, which you have not understood, sentences in the Vedas are not wrong by themselves. You didn't understand and you misinterpreted them. Vākya-bhāshya. Even if to your confused mind 100 statements in the Vedas seemed to imply that there is no need for Ishvara, Karta himself, karma itself ensures the appropriate result, that is not possible. For that he gives, this statement is very powerful, Vākya-bhāshya. Swabhavam, swam swabhavam na jahati. Jahati here is plural, padarthaha jahati. Jahati is singular, jahati is plural. So, a simple example he gives in the next slide. Sri Shankaracharya says, even if 100 statements say, fire sometimes is cold, does fire become cold? Agni, the Agni example is given. Let's see the next slide. It's not moving. Things got frozen in my computer at least. Next one is still showing at the bottom any amount of space or time. Nahi desha kalantareshu cha agnihi anushnaha bhavati. Can fire be cold? Ushna is hot, anushna is cold. Can fire be cold at some other place? Can you say fire in New Delhi is very hot, but if you go to Russia, fire becomes cold? Fire doesn't become cold. Another space, another time? No. Evam karmanaha api kalantare phalam viprakarameva upalapte. I will not read all the words here. Earlier this point had come. In certain cases, the phala of some karma comes immediately. In certain other cases, the phala comes much later. Especially with respect to that case where the phala, result of karma, comes much later, years later, lives later, it's not in the capacity of karma or karta, but there has to be a certain supreme intelligence. And the example of a rich man rewarding his servant was only indicative. The rich man doesn't have infinite intelligence. In a limited context, he can reward someone who had served him very loyally. So, the last line in Sanskrit in this slide says, Sevadi karma anurupa phalajna sevya buddhi samskara apeksha phalasyaiva. It is Ishvara who has that ability. And this Sevya, the master, and Sevaka, the servant, was only a little illustration. Ishvara's is infinitely bigger case. And therefore now after these arguments are over, he summarizes his position, Siddhanti's position now in the next slide is. It's a last slide which has a summary statement and a few quotes from Upanishads. Yes, it has now come. There is some delay in the movement of slides, some technical whatever. So the summary statement is Tasma Siddhaha Sarvajnaha Ishvaraha. Siddhaha means proved and established through logic and Shruti statements also. Sarvajantu Buddhi Karma Phala Vibhaga Sakshi. God sees not only actions performed outwardly, but even buddhi. What thoughts were going on in that particular individual being? Buddhi, karma, phala. Somebody thinks in a certain way, buddhi, then does, that is karma, then gets the phala, that is karma phala. Watching it all, witnessing it all, this Ishvara's intelligence is able to apportion, allot. That's what Ishavasya, 8th mantra says. Yata tatyato vyadat shashvatibhya samabhyaha. Yata tatyataha means yata tata. Yata kasyachit karma tata eva tasya phalam. It is the Ishvara principle that gives. Basically, we see that Acharya Shankara goes on presenting logic and then quotes from the Vedas, that is Yukti and Shruti. Yukti is logic, Shruti is the Vedic authority. Tasma siddhaha sarvajnaha ishvaraha sarvajantu buddhi karma phala vibhaga sakshi sarvabhutantaratma. And in this particular paragraph, 141 in the listing in a certain publication, Shankaracharya gives, he sprinkles a few Vedic mantras. Yat sakshat aparokshat ya atma sarvantaraha. There is mention of certain truth which is not outside, not pratyaksha, not paroksha, but aparoksha. Neither in front of you nor far away from you, but your own inner being. Yaha atma sarvantaraha. There is certain truth which is inside all living beings. Sa eva atra, sa eva chatra atma jantuna na anyaha atah asti drashta shrota manta vidnata. They are all very powerful statements because after all Vedanta we think that I am certain drashta in my personality, that person has his own drashta, she has her own drashta, and he has his own drashta. Upanishad says, Na anyaha ataha asti. Other than that one supreme self, which freed from upadhi is Shuddha Brahma. With upadhis, it is Ishvara. Operating through the upadhis, it is Ishvara Tattva. One Ishvara is everywhere. Sri Krishna makes the matter simple in Gita. Ishvaraha sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. Sarvasya chaham hradi sannivishtaha, says Sri Krishna in the Gita. And Shankara now makes a statement before concluding that particular paragraph in his writing. He says, Vedas not only talk about a certain principle of intelligence in everybody literally, but also the Vedas say you actually are never separate from that supreme truth. Tattvamasi. See the last Sanskrit quotation. Tattvamasi iti atmatva upadeshat. By saying that thou art, you are that Ishvara about whom we are talking, upon a certain realization, upon certain way of getting illumined, you will discover that you are not even a nanometer away from God. Tattvamasi, you are that. Your ego, which comes across as separate, was an illusion. The separate self was and is an illusion. When the illusion is busted, you wake up from this projection of ignorance. You yourself are the Atma. You yourself are the Brahma. The Brahma only is actual. There is nothing else. But then if the Purva-Pakshi were to wonder, no, does that sentence mean identity of God and man? Last sentence in this slide series is Nahi mritpindaha kanchana atmatvena upadishyate. Nobody would call a ball of clay, this is gold, unless it is gold with a thin layer of clay on the surface. Mritpindaha kanchana atmatvena na upadishyate. Therefore, if the Chandogya Upanishad says Tattvamasi, don't take it lightly. Be sure all the limitations that you experience about yourself, all the sadness and loneliness and being let down or being unfit, I am useless and I am helpless and so on. There's a whole bundle of thoughts about your worth or lack of worth. That is not true. Tattvamasi. That is a mischief of your mind. So all these interpretations we give. Thus, in fact, in the one paragraph which only we could cover today, we have seen that Sri Shankaracharya to an extent elaborates on his previous statement that there needs to be an intelligence to run this vast universe. Not only to make the sunrise or the sunset, not only to make the 4 or 6 seasons to come one after another, not only for rains to come down, not only for summer, winter, etc., but also for living beings to get their karma phala in accordance with the karma. Then only the whole creation is a cosmos and not a chaos. He did this, and we will have to see the remaining paragraphs in a little more detail in another class. But however, let me quickly tell you what the next paragraph brings forth. It's very fascinating because the paragraph we saw ended with Tattvamasi. You just now noticed. The Purva-Pakshi raises a question. What are you talking? That one God and every living being are one. I don't think it is so. In fact, for how can God and man be one? So the big question that is of interest to any discussion comparing Dvaita and Advaita is taken up in the next paragraph. The Purva-Pakshi argues that Tattvamasi is not acceptable to us. That doesn't make sense. Every jiva is limited in his Shakti, limited in his Jnana. Jnana, Shakti, Karma, Upasya, Upasaka, Shuddha, Ashuddha. So, jiva has Alpa Jnana, Ishvara has Ananta Jnana, jiva has Alpa Shakti, Paramatma has Ananta Shakti, Paramatma is Upasya, jiva is Upasaka, Paramatma is Shuddha, ever pure, jiva is Ashuddha, Paramatma is Mukta, ever liberated, jiva is Amukta. All that comes in the next objection by the Purva-Pakshi. And Shankaracharya thus gets an opportunity to throw some light well in advance. Later on, the topic will come on how the popular idea that there are many living beings and they have lots of problems. Everybody has problems. And one God who has no problems. That's a popular idea. Many times you and I say, all of us have problems. If there is anyone who has no problems, that is one up there. You and I have our imperfections, and so on and so forth. There was a joke that a sofa seller says to a customer, a new sofa has come, it can accommodate 5 people without any problem. What he meant is the sofa can accommodate without any difficulty 5 people sitting upon it. But the customer misunderstood. He heard the sentence, this sofa can accommodate 5 people without any problem. He said it can accommodate 5 people, none of whom has any problem. 5 people without any problem. So he said to the salesman, where do I find 5 people without any problem? Going to find one person without problem in this world is difficult. How can I find 5 people without any problem? You say this sofa can accommodate 5 people without any problem. Where do I bring those? So, coming back, where do we get one Jivatma without any problem and Paramatma alone is without problem? How can you equate them? And to mention one expression from the coming paragraph from now, the Purva Pakshi says, Ashwa Mahishavat. Ashwa means a horse. Mahisha means a buffalo. How can you say the horse and the buffalo are one? The horse is a horse and the buffalo is a buffalo. How can the horse and the buffalo, Ashwa and Mahisha, be one? And that is where I found this coming paragraph very fascinating, where Shankaracharya, throwing light on the topic, helps us see that you and I, even at this moment, have two aspects, the upadhis and the light of consciousness that acts, operates through the upadhis, through the body, mind, etc. And the light that is shining through the body, through the mind, is one. Please don't say, deep in my heart there is a certain light. Then there is another light which runs through the indriyas, body and mind, etc. No, there is one light. And if you were to have clarity about the nature of that one light which itself shines through your body and mind, that light is one in all. Because go for the nature of light. Don't mix it up with the quality, the characteristics, nature, marks and signs of the upadhis. A tube light is illumining, let's say, objects in your room. Don't say that this is spherical object. The tube light is a sphere. No, spherical shape belongs to the object on the table. This is a cylindrical object. The light that illumines, the light that is illumining, that doesn't have a cylindrical shape. The tube light's apparatus may have. So Shankara awakens a great Atmanatma Viveka in us by touching upon these issues. And as you and I meditate upon our being Chit, pure light essentially, our identification with the personality, with the body and mind is bound to get weakened. When the identification with the body and mind, with the personality, with its success or failure, with its advancement or lagging behind, even in the spiritual context, vanishes. We are not even bothered about whether we are meditating well or we are not meditating well. There was a time when we were wondering, we were agitated over whether we were making enough money or not making enough money. And having entered the spiritual field, some of us day in and day out worry. I don't think I am able to do sadhana properly. My mind is wandering. But for half an hour this afternoon it was good. You are so much identified with Anatma. Know yourselves to be pure light. No characteristic of the body, no characteristic of the mind, no characteristic of karmendriya or jnanendriya or prana should be taken by you as yours, says the Veda. In order that you draw a clear line between the light and what the light illumines, certain sentences of Shānkarabhāshya can be very helpful. A certain new way of seeing things arises in you. We'll see the remaining up to 151 it goes. Today we did 141. So about 9 paragraphs. We'll see at least summaries of it. And then only we enter. And after we enter, there are just 6 more paragraphs for all the 12 mantras. Shankaracharya gives a pretty long commentary before touching the first mantra of the third section. And once he touches the first mantra, tuck, 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 he just clarifies matters in 6 short paragraphs, not long ones. Om Namah